The San Diego River got very close to flood stage today, just part of what this week's El Nino rainstorms left behind. San Diegans lined up at Qualcomm Stadium today. Sandbags were the hot ticket as folks prepare for the next round of storms. I'm Amitha Sharma. Those stories are coming up tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, plus what you need to know about flood insurance. And we'll have a look at Governor Jerry Brown's new budget proposal. It is a record setter. Plus, a look at gun sales here in California and what the president's newest executive actions might mean. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Take a look at this shot of the San Diego River near Fashion Valley this morning. It measured 10 feet. That's just 1 foot below the flood warning stage. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The flood warnings have been lifted across San Diego County, and in a few minutes, we'll check in with KPBS weather reporter Heather Weldman for the forecast. Right now, let's take a look at some of what El Nino left behind this week. We'll start with this sinkhole in La Jolla Shores. It was near a seawall close to the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club. A section of the road dropped about 2 feet this morning. In Escondido, heavy rains brought part of the roof down at the Goodwill store on West Washington Avenue. Some employees were in the store when it happened late last night. No one was hurt, but everything inside was drenched. There were some mudslides at Mission Trails Regional Park. Photographer Milan Kovacevic took these photos there today. The slides were along the Father Junipero Serra Trail. 2 local school districts will be closed tomorrow due to the weather. The Mountain Empire School District in Pine Valley was closed today because of snow, and it will stay closed tomorrow. So will Dehesa Unified, also in the East County. Classrooms there were inundated with water and mud from this week's storms. County residents lined up bumper to bumper around Qualcomm Stadium today, trying to get their hands on sandbags. KPBS video journalist Nick McVicker brings us this report.
Well, I've been there 18 years, but this is the worst I've ever seen it.
Frank Wolski of North Park is in a long line of cars, waiting to load his truck with 10 ready-made sandbags. This is the first time he's ever had to get sandbags for his home, and the same goes for Kay Fowler. Her back patio is flooded.
This is the first time that we've experienced this kind of weather.
It's actually quite exercising, quite therapeutic too.
The Urban Corps' Angel Hernandez fills bags for residents. The city of San Diego worked with Superior Ready Mix and the Urban Corps to provide the sandbags for free. Councilmember Scott Sherman helped organize this event.
People have been inundating the offices with requests for where to get my sandbags, how do I get the sand, those type of things.
40 tons of sand filled 4,500 bags and was distributed by mid-afternoon.
This is awesome. I'm very impressed with their organization and their willingness to get it out here and get it and have it for us.
When there's a need and the community comes together, everybody was on the same page. People couldn't wait to jump in and try and help.
Nick McVicker, KPBS News.
While some San Diegans fill sandbags, others are checking their homeowners insurance. KPBS reporter Matt Bowler says some are just now learning they may not be covered for floods.
Flood insurance is an entirely separate policy from either your renter's or homeowner's policy.
Bernardo Vasquez from State Farm says many insured homeowners and renters opted not to purchase flood insurance. The National Flood Insurance Program says floods are the most common natural disaster, and every year claims total close to $4 billion. Vasquez says San Diegans weren't thinking about flood insurance until recently.
No one was talking about flood insurance until really the media started playing up, hey, El Nino is coming, El Nino is coming.
The rain has started and flooding is affecting many across the county. But if you want to buy flood insurance today, it won't take effect for a while.
Although we can process and service that policy as a local agent, everything has to go through the National Flood Insurance Program.
It takes about a month for flood insurance policies to be active, but keep in mind it's only January, and April showers make May flowers. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
Members of the San Diego Fire Rescue Team were on hand in Mission Valley today, patrolling the flooded San Diego River, making sure people avoided the rushing water, and rescuing people who got too close. Sergeant Bob Albers says if motorists see barricades, they should not go around them.
If roads are flooded, even if they're not barricaded, moving water is dangerous. Definitely don't walk through it and don't drive your vehicle through it. There's always other ways around flooded roads.
Rescue teams will remain in the flooded areas through the early evening and will be available on a 24-hour basis as needed. Homeless advocates say the city of San Diego is failing thousands of people living on the street in the severe weather that has included heavy rain and even a tornado warning. In the past, the city has provided temporary tent shelters in the winter. There are no tents this year, but there are 350 permanent beds for the homeless. The city has also set up 250 emergency beds at Father Joe's Villages and the Neil Good Day Center. But critics say many homeless are reluctant to go to the emergency shelters because they can't take their belongings or pets. San Diego City Councilman Todd Gloria rejected the disapproval of what's available.
Let's not criticize those who are actually trying. And in the case of the city, the Housing Commission, and Father Joe's, what we have is at least 600 beds that are available tonight to folks who otherwise would be on the streets if it were not for this commitment.
Gloria said the 250-bed emergency shelter announced last fall was never supposed to be a cure-all. The hope was churches and other groups would step in to fill the gap.
The fact of the matter is, not that many folks have come forward, and if you are concerned about this and you happen to have a church social hall, community meeting center, or some other place that can be available, folks should contact our San Diego Housing Commission.
Gloria said cost and logistics are key barriers. At the beginning of this newscast, we gave you a look at the San Diego River overflowing from this week's El Nino-driven downpours. Today, KPBS reporter Susan Murphy tagged along with the field crew from the U.S. Geological Survey as they measured the flood conditions.
Days of relentless rain have turned the San Diego River from a trickle to somewhat of a raging torrent. The U.S. Geological Survey is closely monitoring conditions.
So today we're measuring the flow of the San Diego River.
Hydrological technician Zach Berry and his team are at a flood alert station near Fashion Valley.
So we're measuring the depths and the widths and the velocity, and that gives us a discharge.
The data are collected with a small boat-like instrument called an acoustic Doppler profiler. The instrument is pulled across the river by a rope, and the information is recorded on a computer. The river level measures 10 feet. It's 2 feet higher than the street level.
And then the flood stage is 11.3 feet, and that's when you definitely have problems.
Diana Crilly is Associate Director for Data with the USGS California Water Science Center. She says the team takes regular readings because rivers are dynamic.
As water moves through them, it can erode banks, and it can also deposit sediment as it flows.
The data are used by the county to issue flood warnings. The river is expected to recede through Sunday until the next round of rain begins. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
After heavy rain in the last couple of days, San Diego will finally get a break. Chances of rain will diminish this weekend and the coming week. KPBS weather reporter Heather Waldman has the full forecast.
Oh, it's another soggy morning across the Southland, but radar over the last 3 hours in San Diego County looking much better. Still a couple of downpours popping up. One just to the west of Ramona could get some lightning in some of these heavier downpours as well. So be careful, especially on the drive home with any of these cells still lingering. But again, the bulk of that rain is moving off to the south and east at this point. Out over the eastern Pacific, just not much heading our way. And if you look a little bit farther off to the west, you can see some clouds of another storm system that will eventually move into the west coast. But over the next couple of days, these storms are going to track farther to the north. So our rain chances are going to diminish here significantly. Still could get a couple of showers here and there, but we're not going to get the soaking rain that we've seen over the last couple of days. Some folks coming in with over 2.5 inches of rain. Of course, that's great news for the drought, but boy, has it caused some trouble for the travelers. We'll get a couple of days here to clean up just a little bit. Tonight, we'll see those showers around. Again, could be some heavy downpours lingering. We'll drop into the upper 30s in Ramona, 39 degrees in Alpine, down into the upper 20s at Mount Laguna, where they picked up 14 inches of snow over the last day or so. As we go through the next couple of days, again, the rain chances diminish. temperatures will stay close to the seasonal averages, right in the low to mid 60s in most spots. There are small craft advisories in effect until Friday afternoon. Seas still swelling anywhere from about 7 to 9 feet. So still some rough surf right into coastal areas. As we go through Friday, winds will start to turn more northerly. That's going to add a little bit of a chill to parts of the deserts especially. But there's our area of low pressure that brought all the rain moving well off to the east. And again, the next system moves in farther off to the north, so parts of central California could pick up a couple of showers. But rain chances around San Diego going to diminish quite a bit. Here's your forecast for the coast. Friday, clouds will continue to break through the afternoon. We'll watch for a shower or two on Saturday. Otherwise, a fair bit of sunshine Sunday, Monday into Tuesday, and those temperatures, they stay pretty uniform. Temperatures will be in the lower 60s each afternoon, and lows will drop into the lower to middle 40s. Heading a little farther inland, temperatures a couple degrees warmer, low to mid 60s each of the next couple of days. We'll watch for a little bit of rain there on Saturday, again, mainly during the afternoon, and those showers should be fairly scattered. I wouldn't expect a whole lot of sunshine for the start of the weekend. Into the mountains, of course, colder. Temperatures will be in the lower 40s on Saturday. Lows, though, will dip into the lower 30s, so we'll watch for some of that wintry mix. Could be some slippery roads into the day on Sunday with more sunshine Monday into Tuesday. And we'll wrap it up in the deserts. Plenty of sunshine. Could be some areas of clouds throughout the day on Saturday. Heather Waldman, KPBS News.
And you can find more of our El Nino coverage online at kpbs.org. California's punishing drought had a major role in raising the nation's average temperature last year. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Warm East Coast conditions this winter and drought-fueled heat in the West early last year pushed the nation's average temperature to the second warmest on record. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says the average temperature in 2015 was the second highest since record-taking began just over 120 years ago. It included variations in the contiguous 48 states. Researcher Diek Arndt says the average hit 54.4 degrees.
That's taking kind of night and day temperatures in consideration. That's taking summer and winter, spring and fall temperatures into consideration. That's about 2.4 degrees warmer than the 20th century average.
Now, that was still a degree below the overall record set back in 2012. Arndt says it's not a proof of climate change, but it is further evidence that the climate is warming. Arndt says California's drought was one of 10 severe weather events in the nation that caused more than $1 billion in damages last year. And he says extreme weather will increase as average temperatures climb. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
California Governor Jerry Brown released his spending plan for the next fiscal year today. The $122.6 billion budget includes increasing school spending per student and more money for regional centers, which provide services to people with developmental disabilities. Brown also wants more funds to be put into reserves. As in previous years, Brown encouraged restraint in spending.
Put more money in the rainy day fund. And I'm saying put in $2 billion more, number one, and then don't spend the money on ongoing programs. Do some one-time infrastructure because we have to fix buildings at the state level. We have parks, we have schools, we have a lot of things we got to do.
The governor's budget proposal sets the stage for months of debate with lawmakers on spending priorities. The governor's new budget received a cocktail of criticism from Republican lawmakers. The Republican senators say they will not support new taxes like those proposed for state health plans and gas. They say increasing taxes at a time the state has budget surplus is unnecessary.
Finding a disconnect where he's saying we need to still raise taxes when we're at the highest budget, $126 billion we have 122.6 billion. I mean, and he's still asking for more money, and yet I'm being told 1/3 of our residents are in poverty.
Some Republican senators also suggested using the state tax revenue surplus to pay off California's more than $440 billion debt instead of funding new programs. Two Democratic candidates in a local state Senate race found very little to disagree about during a debate last night. It took place in front of the La Mesa Foothills Democratic Club. KPBS reporter Claire Tregesser says the race is in the 39th Senate District, which includes most of San Diego, as well as Coronado and Del Mar.
State Senator Marty Block is the incumbent. He's facing an unusual challenge from within his own party. The woman aiming to take his seat is Assembly Speaker Toni Atkins. Block and Atkins mostly agreed with each other on issues including increasing affordable housing and not spending public money on the chargers. But a heated moment came when Block said Atkins hadn't gotten enough done as Assembly Speaker.
She's right. She is the leader of the Assembly, and that is an important position, and I respect her greatly for that. But if you take credit for what the Assembly has done, you also have to take blame for their severe failures last year.
Atkins responded that she works with the votes she has in the Assembly and compromises to get things done.
I will take responsibility for successes and failures because you have to keep working to get things done. We got the most aggressive piece of legislation passed when we passed 350, and we're going to continue to work on it to get it done.
That's Senate Bill 350, the recently passed Clean Energy and Pollution Reduction Act. Another tense moment came when the moderators asked why neither Democrat is running for mayor of San Diego.
I would be more than happy to put my resources behind Senator Block running for mayor of San Diego.
Atkins went on to say that she believes she will best serve in the state legislature, not city government. Block then made a similar joke.
Now, as far as who should be mayor, no question for Toni. Because despite whatever shortcomings she might have.
He said there's still things he wants to accomplish in the state Senate. After the two Democrats debated for an hour, the club's 56 members voted, and it ended in a tie. So neither candidate got the nod. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
A push to create California's first ever daily fantasy sports regulations has passed its first committee vote at the state capitol. The bill would require daily fantasy sports websites to receive state licenses, protect user data, and report player winnings for tax purposes. The State Assembly's Government Operations Committee approved the bill by a 17-1 vote. The full Assembly has until the end of the month to pass it. Tonight, President Obama is hosting a town hall meeting on gun regulation. This week, he announced 2 executive orders aimed at restricting some gun sales without congressional approval. iNewsSource reporter Joe Girardi took a look at how Obama's actions could affect gun sales in California and how many gun dealers are doing business in San Diego County. He joins us now from the newsroom. Joe, to start off, remind us what these executive actions are supposed to do.
Well, there are 2 major changes, and both have to do with expanding background checks for gun buyers. One clarifies that even people claiming to just be private citizens whose primary source of income isn't selling guns, they still have to conduct background checks on folks who buy guns from them. The other seeks to close a loophole that allows people to avoid background checks when they buy and sell certain weapons by forming LLCs or corporate trusts to make the purchases.
And what effect, if any, could these new directives have locally?
They won't change anything locally, and the reason is that California already beat Obama to the punch on this one. For years, the state has required that every gun sale, even those between you and your neighbor, must be done with a background check. The state also already requires that if an LLC or trust wants to buy a gun, the agent of that LLC making the purchase has to undergo a background check.
So how gun happy are San Diego County residents?
Not all that happy. I looked at data showing the number of attempted gun purchases in each of California's 58 counties and compared it to their population. San Diego ranked 47th out of the 58 in attempted gun purchases per resident. I also took a look at the number of gun dealer licenses for each county, and it's a similar story. San Diego ranked 52nd out of 58 in the number of licensed gun dealers per resident.
So how do we compare with similarly sized counties in other states?
Again, firearms just aren't that hot a commodity here when you adjust for population. Of the nation's 10 largest counties, San Diego ranked 7th in the number of licensed gun dealers per county resident.
So why do you think that we are seeing these patterns?
So this is where things get interesting. I spoke with Michael Schwartz, the executive director of the San Diego County Gun Owners PAC. He's a guy with strong perspectives on gun regulations, and perhaps unsurprisingly, he chalked up the difference in large part to differing regulatory structures in each county. He said that a lot of the most populous counties, including San Diego, are pretty tight-fisted about handing out those concealed carry licenses, while many of the more rural counties in the state are not. If you're in an urban environment, you're probably more likely to want a gun for self-defense than you are for hunting. And if you can't get a license to carry that gun on you, you might figure it's just not worth spending the money on it in the first place.
Thank you, Joe.
Sure.
Viewers can check out an interactive map of per capita gun sales by county at inewsource.org. We have an update on another iNewsSource story about that massive gas leak near Los Angeles. Sempra Energy, the parent company of Southern California Gas, says it has spent about $50 million attempting to stop the flow of noxious gas and for reimbursing people who have been displaced. The leak has been out of control since late October, causing the governor to declare a state of emergency on Wednesday.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. Does it pay to be good to others? Paul Salmon helps make sense of the economics of altruism. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
Kensington Video has reopened and is launching a film program to highlight student and experimental work. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says owner Guy Hanford is expanding the role his store plays in San Diego's film community.
For decades, Kensington Video was a sanctuary for cinephiles, a beloved labyrinth of hard-to-find films where you could get lost for hours.
There was pretty clear sections. I'd always gravitate, towards international experimental aisle, and then behind it was animation. Sometimes I would sneeze to go in the back area because I'm kind of allergic to dust. But that's just because the films, there's so many, and there's abundance. It's hard to, keep track of everything.
Filmmaker Eric Leiser credits Kensington Video's Guy Hanford with supplementing his film education and introducing him to influential foreign animators.
Kensington was always there. I got into Yuri Trinka, early Czech stop-motion animation. Ladislav Starovich, he was one of the first stop-motion animators. He was brilliant. He made these taxidermy stop-motion puppets, and nowadays, he's probably one of my major inspirations. I also was introduced to Jan Schwankmeyer and the Quay brothers here. I would just repeatedly come back here until I started making my own films, and then Guy was nice enough to give me some special free rentals, and so I just added on to my cinephile obsession.
Hanford takes great pleasure in feeding such passions. His parents initially opened the video store in 1984. The business closed last year and underwent a remodel that replaced the clutter with orderly shelves and a juice bar. Hanford also added a 133-inch diagonal screen with 9.1 sound in order to realize a dream he's had.
What we also want to do is have this be a film destination for young filmmakers. So we hope that young student filmmakers, both in the high school, junior college, and colleges, will be able to present their works here, have a free venue for them to premiere works, and have people give them immediate feedback. That's what we would love to see.
This Friday, director and animator Eric Leiser will show old as well as new work.
I'm going to screen my previous feature film, Glitch in the Grid. It was my third live-action stop-motion animated feature. And then I'm going to show a few segments of my upcoming fourth feature film, Apocalypsis. There's a slew of apocalyptic films that have come out and are coming out. I wanted to make a film that was showing the futility of thinking things are always going to end. With every end, there's a beginning. My narratives are very experimental and they don't follow any traditional structure. This time I was trying to force my brain into a traditional structure to see how I would wiggle out of it.
Leiser collaborates on the films with his brother Jeffrey. Hanford liked their work so much that he even helped them find a distributor.
I've admired their works, I've admired their energy, and they're just two of the most humble, most talented young men I know in filmmaking. They deserve an audience to come and discover their work, so I'm very excited and honored to have them here for our premiere showing.
Although Hanford has retired from teaching 3rd and 4th graders, he still loves educating people. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m., he hopes to introduce audiences to the innovative work of the Leiser brothers in his newly renovated store on Adams Avenue. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Here Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. San Diego has some ambitious goals to reduce greenhouse gases, but how do they plan to get to 100% renewable energy? Find out tomorrow on Morning Edition on KPBS Radio. And at noon, SeaWorld settles with the state over safety citations involving killer whales and their trainers as the theme park files suit to keep its breeding program alive. Get the story on Midday Edition Roundtable. We leave you tonight with some images taken in the Mount Laguna area today, where they got 12 to 15 inches of snow since Monday and are on track to get a few more. These photos were taken by KPBS videographer Memo Sevilla. And one more thing we want to share with you. It's a time-lapse video of a rainbow forming. This was posted by Ethan Gibney at the National Weather Service office in Rancho Bernardo. He put it up with a comment saying perhaps it's a sign of the end of nasty weather in San Diego. You can find our continuing weather coverage along with tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.